Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, how are you, Terry?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for taking our call today. So we wanted to ask you a couple questions about genetically modified organisms.
Yes.
All right. So if you want to introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are.
My name is Thierry Vrain, Dr. Vrain. Let's see, I'm apparently a whistleblower. I used to work as a genetic engineer for the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, very good. So I know that you used to be for this science and now you're against this science. Can you tell us the reason why you changed your
Well,
mind?
there's been a lot of studies done in the last dozen years since I retired that really I was not aware of, I wasn't aware of this, the studies being done at the time. So since I retired, there's a lot of studies that have been done, mostly in Europe, that really shows that there's some problems with genetic engineered grain, corn and soy. Rats fed corn and soy develop kidney damage and liver damage and cancer. And that's like, well, we use rats as canaries in the mine, you know. It's like they're telling us something. They're saying if we eat the same food, we're going to have the same symptoms.
Absolutely. Okay, so what do you think we should be doing here to get rid of this problem or to tackle this problem?
Well, I think it's going to come from the street. I think it's going to come from the people. I don't think it's going to come from the top.
Right,
I
and
I think an event like the one that we're talking about here, March Against Monsanto, is the way to go. I hope there's like millions and millions and millions of people because that talks.
So, now that we're on the topic of Monsanto, what do you think of their relationship between Monsanto and the government and the FDA?
Well, it's really not very arm's length, is it? I mean, it's obvious that the corporate people move into government positions and then go back to the corporation, and then it's like the revolving door. I mean, it's transparent. It's very obvious. It's public. It's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, it's scary when
Yeah.
the government takes over or when corporations start taking over government or infiltrating government for to pursue their own profit.
This is what we are discussing here. Yes.
Right. So you
I
think
think in
taking
Europe, excuse me, I think in Europe they call it fascism.
yeah.
yeah, we're starting to call it that here now too.
Starting.
You're laughing, right? And we're far from that here, aren't
Oh
No,
we?
yeah,
it's
that's
true
true.
though. So over there, they're burning down fields in India and places like that, right? Did you hear
Anyway,
me?
back to GMOs.
What did he say?
Back to GMO.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I guess what?
Oh yeah, we have another question here.
And it's sort of biology.
So, dealing with the soil and the effects that the GMO crops and also the pesticides are having on the soil. What kind of information can you tell us about that?
Where'd it go?
I don't really have, too much information about the effect of the technology on the biology of the soil, except I think it's pretty much, equivalent or it's the same really as industrial agriculture. I mean, it's well known that the extensive use of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides um, in industrial agriculture are basically causing a process of desertification. The biology of the soil is very affected. It's
Right.
much more
So
fluid.
So the quality of the soil is going down because of the GMOs?
No more than the rest of industrial agriculture. GMOs are just an expression of industrial agriculture. I don't think there's any particular risks attributed to GMOs here
Okay,
on
but the
on the biology of the soil.
okay, so you're saying the pesticide is mainly what's causing this damage to the soil?
Yes.
Right, and this pesticide, it grows ever more resistant where they need to use more pesticide and more insecticide, right?
The plants become resistant to the herbicide.
Right.
Yes. And
So,
they themselves become weeds, or other species of weeds are becoming resistant to the herbicides as well and have become a serious problem.
so basically, it's not true that the crop yields actually increase. They actually could decrease because of all these pesticides in the soil, or
No,
no?
no. The yields, there's a very there is a strong message from the biotech industry that the yields have increased, and that's actually not proven true at all. The
Right,
yields,
that's
the
false. Right.
yields of corn, for example, have decreased. You can look at the data from Europe, and you can see that the Europeans have passed the American um, yields for corn over the last 10 to 15 years, and they don't use that technology.
Right. Okay, so
So
uh,
there is no increase in yield. There is no like, oh, we need that technology to feed the world.
Yeah,
No,
that's what they love to sell it to us here, and they tell us that, thanks to these GMOs, we're able to feed these millions of people, and we're gonna feed everybody in Africa. But I saw this study that I think you were referencing to about the comparison between the yield here and the yield in Europe, where they don't have the GMOs, and it was actually proven that the non-GMO crops were actually performing better than the GMO crops.
yes, yes, you're correct.
Okay,
So
let's
there is
move
no
on.
increase. There is no increase in yield. There is no feeding the world.
so if we can prove that, then we can prove that they don't have much ev- evidence to support these 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 pesticide-filled crops, right?
Sorry, there's a background noise that's difficult. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you. I say your lips moving, but I can't hear you. Ah, I heard a sound.
We had a little.
Okay, sorry about that. We had a plane going overhead.
Okay, I heard the plane, and then
Okay.
and then there was
Um,
no sound.
so my question was, if there's no increase in crop yield and you have to use more pesticides with each planting, then there's no point in having these Monsanto crops. How do we stop this besides marching? What should be our next step beyond this march that we're doing tomorrow?
You're beyond my. I don't have that vision. I don't know. I am not a politician or a planner or a leader. I'm just a scientist.
Okay, well, what can you tell us about how Europe did it? How they got the GMOs banned?
Tell you how you got GMOs banned.
How
No.
Europe got GMOs banned?
Well, yeah, yeah. How they did it? Well, I don't really know the details of the story. I don't follow that kind of stuff. It's it seems to me the people in France, at least I know the situation. They were just from very early on had known. It's 1998. It's 2 years after the first commercialization of GMO products all over the world. And 2 years later, there was a outcry in Europe that uh, engineered grain was toxic to rats. The study had just been done in Scotland, and the government and the people in Europe really took that seriously, whereas here in North America it was just brushed away by the biotech industry and their supporters. And they make so much noise about it that basically it's like, this is not valid. Well, it is very valid in many, many countries. People are taking these studies very seriously and they seem to accumulate. And we
Right,
see
right.
and we see rats and mice, fed engineered grain for months, developing organ damage and cancer and die prematurely compared to other animals that are, treated, fed differently. And this applies to us. It's like this is not a conspiracy. This is not an invention. It's real.
Right.
So I guess what I'm taking from what you're saying is that the recipe for success for what our mission is to use the information that we have about all these studies, but then we have to get people activated, just like they did in Europe, where the people were not going to accept it. And I guess that's what we have to do is get more and more people behind this and use the information that people like you are putting out there for us to use to get everybody on board with getting rid of these pesticides and getting labels on these GMOs and dealing with the Monsanto problem.
Yes. Yes, and it is obvious to me that the biotech industry as a whole on media, except the internet.
Yeah, the media. I mean, the media totally slants towards in favor of Monsanto and all of these biotech giants, and they rarely ever talk about these other studies that are coming out of other places. Just because the scientists out here tend to not want to challenge the Monsanto establishment and the mainstream science establishment.
Okay, well, you should have quite a few minutes of this.
All right. Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Well, thanks for talking with us.
Tell me how you are going to post this. How are you going to use this segment?
Well, we're having a march tomorrow and a rally, and then we're gonna be showing it at our General Assembly. We're gonna have an assembly tomorrow to where we break off into groups and discuss how we're gonna tackle Monsanto, because there's a lot of angles to approach it. We think that it's important to put pressure to bear on all sides. Ban GMO, label GMO, get rid of Roundup out of San Diego, all sorts of stuff. So it'll be shown there at the World Beat Center in San Diego.
Yeah, and then we'll put it on YouTube.
It will be on YouTube as well.
And if you want us to leave it, put any links in with the YouTube post, like for your books or anything like that, you can just send it to us on Skype or on Facebook, and we'll add all the links in there too, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us. And I had one last question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on in Canada with the GMOs, or the GMO crops? Give us the status of Canada.
Canada is a very large producer of grain and canola.
And
these are like huge crops, as much as in the USA. And so yes, of course, 90% or of that is all engineered, like 100% of sugar beet, like in your country, is engineered. And we do a lot of corn and soy as well. Yes, in Ontario mostly.
Okay, so it's very similar to the US.
Yeah, quite.
Okay. All right then. Well, thank you for your time. Do you have any more questions?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks for talking with us.
Okay. Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night, Thierry.